Welcome back. I've got Kate Lowry on the line. Kate, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, Michael.
I'm really happy to have you on the show, and we're going to talk about your new book and a lot of other things. So, why don't you share a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I am a Silicon Valley-based CEO coach, venture capitalist, and author. I specialize in working with mission-driven and underrepresented founders. And throughout my career, I've been in startups, big tech, management consulting, and venture capital.
There's been a couple founders in Silicon Valley, if I remember correctly, just a couple. No, it's in the air and the water and the soil and everything else. It's just one of those places, and there's other parts of the country too that has it, but nothing like Silicon Valley. It's just there's just something in there. I'm down in San Diego most times, so it's a little different down in this part of the woods. But when it comes to just innovation, and just think back, for me, the last few decades, and so much has changed because of the innovation and the creativity that's come from that. And I love how you mentioned a moment ago, that you help those entrepreneurs that are underrepresented and underserved. So what's that like?
Yes. So, a really special thing in startups, underrepresented people tend to see and experience problems that the average person doesn't. And that means that they're able to create really great, innovative products the world needs for their communities. So, it's very fun working with them. Being someone myself who's queer, has a lot of disabilities in Silicon Valley, I know what it's like to be just a little bit different.
A difference, what makes the world better, in my opinion. If we were all the same, that'd be boring as hell. I mean, come on, people from all different experiences, challenges, backgrounds, upbringings. That's what makes everything so amazing. When I hear stories of, businesses that were launched by, no matter how you want to identify, somebody, that has a disability, or someone that is a new immigrant, or somebody that is, brand new to the sector, or somebody that's been doing it for a long time. They've been trying everything, and then they finally crack through. It's just one of those things where I get so excited for that person and what they're bringing to the world, because we need it. I tell people all the time in the work that I do is, helping workplaces with, toxic cultures and people that are burned out. So, very similar work that you're doing, especially, and we're going to jump into your book in a moment. But I love seeing people accomplish great things because we all benefit from that. And again, going back to, the work that you do, getting to be able to work with people like that to help them, tap into, whatever resources or open doors or whatever they need, breakthroughs, quite frankly, to help them grow and be all that they can be, is just, it's a wonderful gift. I'm getting chills talking about it right now, and I'm sure you get them too.
Oh, it's such a privilege to be able to work with them. And oftentimes, all they need is a little bit of a leg up or a little bit of pattern recognition to help them understand, the optimal strategy or what they need to be successful. I always tell them, I am at least the one person in your life who is objective with no vested interest. I'll never push you in any particular direction. My sole purpose is to make sure that you are succeeding in whatever way success is defined for you.
I'm glad you clarified that part, because our version of success and their version of success might be different. And I know, nothing against, my fellow colleagues in the coaching profession, but sometime our biases kick in and we think, well, you should approach it this way. And it's like, that may not be what they want. They may just want to hit this level, and they don't really want to grow it beyond that. And quite frankly, maybe they're scared if it does. So it's, figuring out, what they want. And sometimes, and I'm sure you've seen this too, when you're working with somebody, is, I know this sounds silly to some people, especially that are not entrepreneurs, that there's a lot of entrepreneurs that really don't know what they want. And it's like, how in the world you launched a business, you have a product or service, you want to bring it to market, you want to have it generate revenue and create a lifestyle that you want to have. but you don't know what you want. But it happens all the time because there's doubt, there's worry, there's fear, there's all kinds of different things that come up and inside between, these ears, that can really throw us a curveball.
Yeah, for sure. I find that a lot of founders chase things, don't know why they're chasing them. Another reason why I work with a lot of mission-driven founders, they know that they're building something because they want to help the world in some way. And right now, it means I'm doing a lot of healthcare, a lot of AI, a lot of climate tech. And it's very cool to get to work on have to have products, not nice to have products.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier, especially when you see something that you know that is going to create a lot of good and impact on things. So let's dive into your book. And I always ask, and I get to interview a lot of authors on the show, which I'm thankful for, because I'm a huge fan of reading and writing. It's one of those things that I've loved my entire life, which has been around the block a few times. So what motivated you to write this book? Because as writing a book is a very time-consuming endeavor. It eats up a lot of your time. So, what motivated you to write the book, and what's the book about?
Yeah, so around February of this year, I noticed an interesting phenomenon. My peers and my clients in Silicon Valley were spinning out. There is a wave of fear-based leadership, hitting across tech, business, social sector, public sector. It was almost like they felt like the ground was moving under their feet and they didn't know what to do. I was seeing people freeze, seeing people overwhelmed, seeing people panic, but I was totally fine. Um, and that's when I realized that I had perfected a toolkit that most people don't have. I have 30 plus years of experience spending a lot of time around fear-based leaders, fear-based people. And that means that I was like, oh my gosh, I have to write these guys a tactical guide as fast as possible because any day that someone feels alone in the face of a bully is a day too long.
And for those of you that are watching this on YouTube or other streaming channels, Kate started this work. She said 30 years. She started when she was 5, so it was she was a child prodigy, and she just got into this. So when you said that, I'm like, but no, whatever you're doing, keep doing. Your youthful look helps all of us. It keeps the rest of us inspired and youthful. But uh, I'm glad that you saw that. And yeah, being in California as well, from time to time, yeah, sometimes when the ground is moving, it's literally moving because of a quake or something like that. But that's such a horrible feeling for people to feel. The uncertainty, and life is uncertain. We know that, but it's scary. But when it's amplified, and it just seems like the trumpets are blaring really loud, and people that have been extremely successful and confident and have done amazing things and have done quite well for themselves, all of a sudden return back to that nervous version of themselves that self-doubt everything. And it's a horrible, horrible existence to be in. So you notice this in talking with your peers and the people you help. So and you said you realized, wait a minute, how come this isn't happening to me? And you discovered, oh, it's because I have the system or the formula or the toolkit to make sure that this doesn't happen. And uh, great for you to decide, you know what, this toolkit that I have that you've been using for you needs to be shared and out there for people because you don't want that to happen. You like coaching people. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I'm guessing you like coaching people that are at a good space and they're just desiring to grow and do greater things, and they need a little help here and there, and instead of being basically a pseudo therapist and having to work people through all the negativity and the problems and challenges that they're facing that's eating them alive.
Yeah, it's interesting working with my clients. I find that being a CEO is a slippery slope to being an asshole. Being an asshole is a slippery slope to being a fear-based leader. But more often than not, people know what it looks like to follow their values and not be that way. They oftentimes just need some nudges, some accountability, and also some permission, permission to go against the grain. And right now, societally, there is a new type of permission that's saying, it's okay. We're in a gloves off era. It's cool to be cruel. Let's be top down. Let's be hierarchical. The iron fist rules. And so a lot of my coaching work is about helping people dare to be different from that. But for most employees out in the world, they can't really escape it right now. A huge percentage of businesses are full of leaders who are either like this or getting pressured to become like this. And it's starting to feel like jumping from the frying pan into the fire. And that's where the toolkits in my book start coming into play.
Yeah, it's a lot of it, especially if they're publicly traded organizations, there's, shareholder value pressure. And of course, a lot of businesses in Silicon Valley are. So there's that component to it. It has nothing to do with delivering the greatest products and services to customers. It's all about shareholder value, which I could go on a tangent about that, but I'm not going to. I understand the premises that because without investment, a lot of those businesses wouldn't exist. So it's an interesting dance, but there's a lot of leaders, like you said, are being forced to behave in a way that may not naturally be their inclination. Now, there are some, we've all had them, that they were born that way and they're not, they feel that, you lead with a stick, you hammer people into place, you rule that way and everyone will stay in line. Yeah, but nobody wants to work there. And what I've seen from my experience is the younger generations are not putting up with that. They're like, no, we're not going to do that. And we're seeing that dynamic. We're seeing it with low engagement rates. We're seeing it with, so many people, especially after the pandemic. But it was starting to happen before that, but especially after the pandemic, people decided, you know what? As much as it's going to hurt for me to take a little bit of a pay cut, I would much rather cobble together a bunch of side jobs or side gigs, deliver food, drive people around, and all of that, and generate a revenue or income that way instead of having to work in an environment with a toxic leader like that guy or that person. And on one hand, I'm thankful that they have that opportunity to do that and they make their own choices and that's the path they want to go. That's great. But my concern in that is how many talented individuals are we losing and that are leaving environments like this, which could be the person that comes up with the idea for the next best thing that would change humanity, whether it's cure for all the diseases that rob people from us way too soon, or improve vision or hearing or self-driving vehicles or better transit or better resources around the world so we don't see starvation or droughts or anything like that anymore for people, that we can get them the resources they need in order to survive, but not only survive, but thrive. There are people out there right now that have that skill set within them and that desire and that secret sauce, basically, that unfortunately walked away from it and now they're, delivering food. And it bothers me when I see that. So that's why, when your toolkit, I was made aware of the book and the toolkit, I thought, hallelujah, because I don't want everybody just to leave. And you know this as well as I do. There are a lot of people that are not meant, nothing against them, of course, not meant to be entrepreneurs. That they're just, it's not, it's not in their DNA. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has, their gifts and their skills, and matching them with the opportunities that are available makes the world a much better place.
Yeah, there are a lot of people in the world with a lot of talents. Um, some of them should be entrepreneurs. Maybe they should do something else. But What I'm noticing is that this type of leadership is impacting every type of company right now. Whether you're delivering pizza or whether you're working in the Fortune 500, there is this type of top-down hierarchical leadership that leaves people with an icky feeling. And my toolkit is really what teaches them how do you thrive, not just survive, but thrive even around people who are really incredibly difficult. Because the leader will tell you, you're powerless without me, resistance is futile, blah, 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 evil villain monologue. Um, and part of taking agency in environments like that is saying, no, I'm not going to believe you. And I'm going to learn the skills that I need to have to do well, even around, dirtbags like these types of leaders.
I love that analogy. For some reason, I thought of Lord Farquaad from the Shrek movie. I don't know why, but it just kind of came to me. That was the image that just popped in my head right now. But apparently, there's a rumor in the new Shrek movie he's coming back. So if you're a Shrek movie fan, hopefully I didn't spoil that to you. Apologies for that. But I agree, and I definitely I don't want you to share the entire toolkit because I want everybody to go buy the book and read it and learn how to do it themselves or reach out to you and learn it that way. But what's maybe one of the tools in the toolkit that people can do to at least reframe some things and understand that the reality is they do have a fear-based leader, and that is the reality. Don't try to pretend that's not the case. It is in many situations, but what are some of the tools that they can do to kind of address that and still grow and thrive in that organization?
Definitely. First, you have to understand how they think and make decisions. And because they do that in very predictable ways, you can then run circles around that. So, one of the first things you have to understand about leaders like this is that they don't believe in equality. People are either above them or below them. You're either being stepped on or doing the stepping. And so part of being around them is speaking on their radio channel. They speak in terms of their emotions, and you have to validate their emotions in order to de-escalate their actions. So if they say, "You guys are a bunch of idiots, I need my MVP out by Friday," don't say, "But that's impossible." Say, "Sir, yes, sir," even if it's not possible. Um, you can always cobble together half a version of an MVP and put it out the door or something, do a press release or something like that. Because what they're looking for is not actually getting an MVP out the door. They're looking for someone to speak their language and say, yes, I affirm your power, I defer to you. Secondly, you have to understand how they see people around them. They don't see people as other human beings. They see them as either sheep to buy their services or products, or tools, which are people or things that do useful stuff around them or for them. You can choose. Do you want to be seen as a sheep, in which case you're going to fly under the radar? Or you can be a useful tool. If you're useful to them, there's less of a chance that they're going to axe you. The longer you can be useful, the longer you're going to be able to stay around. And then lastly, I would say they need to be able to clock the leader's emotional maturity level. So a lot of people who are adults, body age wise, are not adults in terms of their emotional maturity. So look at your leader and say, is this person having a lot of tantrums? They might be an emotional 2-year-old. That means you treat them like a 2-year-old. You bring extra snacks to meetings. You provide a lot of breaks. You always have things to distract them with. Versus if you're dealing with an emotional teenager, maybe they're very caught up in social dynamics. Who likes them? Who doesn't like them? That mean thing someone said last week. You're going to treat them differently. Maybe by providing validation, being supportive, etc., even when they're not being that supportive to you.
I love that. And yeah, you don't put the 2-year-old in timeout though. That's not good for longevity of your job. But I think those are some amazing ideas. And as you were sharing them, I was reflecting back on some of the problematic bosses that I've had over my years, and I thought the ones that I was able to navigate around and stay in an organization for a longer period of time I more or less did some of those things. It's like, okay, well, don't get on their radar. Be helpful. Find, as silly as it sounds, how do they take their coffee? If you have a coffee meeting first thing in the morning, head up to the coffee shop. If they go to a coffee shop, figure out what their order is, hand it to them before the meeting. It's there's an even if they're mad at you, that diffuses things a little bit. And yeah, you may still be, targeted in the meeting for some things, but you know what? In the back of their mind, they're like that, Kate brought me coffee. Okay, I'm gonna lean back on that a little bit and not go all out. Or if I'm yelling, I'm not gonna make eye contact or look over in that side of the room because I don't want to, change it now. Well, your challenge with that is if everybody clues in on that, everybody's going to be bringing him coffee, and he's going to have too much coffee. And although some people don't mind that, I know a lot of people that could drink coffee all day and night, and it does nothing to them. If I have 2 cups, I'm a little jittery to say the least. So, in closing, Kate, what's if and there's never one magic button or pill or anything like that that someone could take, but I, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this when someone's in this type of environment where they have a fear-based leader, does it make sense for them to kind of pause for a moment and just kind of collect themselves first so when they are working through the toolkit, they have a little bit more clarity and self clarity on it? Because I think if their mind is cloudy, it may limit the success of them being able to navigate and utilize the toolkit that you share for them.
Yes. The first section of my book is actually about how to build resilience. Because if you don't know how to protect and build up your own energy and resilience, you don't have the resources to execute the strategies in the book. And so, whatever fills your cup, what brings you joy, what brings you energy, what makes you feel like you can take on the world, whether it's time with your family, time spent outside, doing sports, whatever that is, you have to make sure that you're doing that regularly because these types of fear-based environments can be very draining. And so, you need to have a strategy for really taking care of yourself because these are environments where that leader is not going to be taking care of you.
I love that, and I highly, highly encourage people to pick up this book when it comes out. So I really appreciate your time today, Kate. Where can people find out more about you, the name of the book, and all that good stuff?
You betcha. So you can check out my website at katelowry.com, my Instagram at Kate Unbreakable Lowry, my Facebook page, LinkedIn, or my Substack, which is katelowry.substack.com. I publish tips daily on most of my platforms about how to deal with fear-based leaders. But I think my book should be a huge help. It's available wherever books are sold starting October 28th. And it's really written to feel like a friend is sitting across the table from you, teaching you how to deal with difficult people.
And I love when books are that way. It's just you go through them, you never want to put them down because when you're spending time with a friend, you want that time to last as long as possible. So, really appreciate your time today, Kate. Thank you so much again for all this work that you're doing, and congratulations again on the book.
All right, thank you so much, Michael.